Today we are reacting to Brabus' signature night. I think one of the coolest shows, if not the coolest show
of the year.
It's my personal opinion that we've put on in the last 45 years of Brabus history. I think it was a special moment for everybody in the team. It was a tremendous amount of work beforehand. It was absolutely crazy to put all of it together, but the result was something unlike anything we've ever done, at least the two of us ever done. And by the way, guys, today I'm not doing this video alone, but I have a new guest on the show. Hi. Somebody I haven't seen before in this video, because normally he's behind the camera. Dennis Wilson, our editor-in-chief at Brabus. So normally the guy that's responsible for making me look bad on camera.
I make you look good.
Today it's time to give.
I try to make you look good.
To give back. Anyway, Brabus Signature Night. We're gonna do it. This is how we're gonna do it. So I think there's a lot of things.
There's so many stories.
There's so many stories to talk about. There's so many things that happen. There's so many things that you cannot see when you just look at the recording and the show on stage. That I think it's gonna be fascinating to talk about it. And I would say let's jump right in.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
1 second is all it takes to see, feel, understand, decide. It is one turn of the head in the right direction. One glance across a busy street. One firm handshake.
I'll go on pause. The
intro.
We want to tell a little bit stories behind it.
Yes.
So where did you actually do the voiceover?
I think I have to go back even further at the beginning. So last year in 2022, we did the very first Brabus Signature Night. Today, I would say it's been the beta version for what we've done this year, because we'd never done it before. And we got extremely lucky that the show in 22 went so well, because there were a million reasons why it could have gone wrong. To give you one example, we didn't have a building that was completely dark.
No.
And we had to black out all the windows within 24 hours. We didn't have a proper tunnel for cars to come in through. So when somebody opened the curtain, light would stream in.
And I think we even switched the entry, because the entry was meant to be on the other side. And we asked somebody, where are the cars coming in? And he opened the door and all the light came.
So there were like, so many things that we did not know. And in the end, Signature Night 22 turned out to be a milestone event for us.
Right.
Already. Yeah. Although now looking back, it looks like the beta for Signature Night 23.
Yeah, because all the learnings we had 22.
Exactly. There was a long list of learnings. Yes. And one of them was that I had the feeling of wanting to tell the audience more of a story around the show. That brings us directly to where you pause the show at the intro. And so we thought about what it meant for the show. We thought about how we could introduce that topic to the audience and how we could take them along on a journey. You come in, you sit down, and you let yourself be surprised. You just watch what happens on stage.
Exactly.
And nothing else is distracting you from that.
But I think, to tell a little Easter egg, where did you produce that? I can remember a lot of nightly, midnight
we went back
WhatsApps
and forth. We went back and forth, and finally we had the theme and the intro text for the show, and then we decided to actually record it in one of our motor testing bays, one of our engine test bays, because they're acoustically set up to reduce noise, and that's where we did it. So it was actually quite fun.
And you sat there all by yourself and started reading?
Typical Brabus fashion. We set up a microphone. And I don't know, did a few takes and we had our intro.
Yeah.
So
cool setting.
Brabus style. Just get it done. Let's watch it.
One look into a pair of eyes that will thrill you, fascinate you, make you trust, inspire you, make you fall in love, or change your life. There is no more than a second of a chance for a first impression. 1 second can make you shine or let you go unnoticed. Let's not waste those precious seconds. Let's fill them with wow.
It's crazy, right? I mean, let's quickly take a look at the audience. The show, hold on a second, here we go. So the show this year happened in the Jahrhunderthalle.
In Bochum, yeah.
Or Century Hall in Bochum, a venue pretty close to Brabus HQ that we chose for a very specific reason. We chose the venue because it represents the region where we come from, and we chose the venue because I, believe it to be a bridge between the past of the region, the present, and the future. It's both kind of looking back at where we came from, and it's a commitment to essentially made in Germany luxury products as we build them here today.
And it gives it a modern appearance, and that's the development of this area as well. And it developed to a very, very modern part of Germany, which this building represented.
We are part of that structural change of the Strukturwandel, as we would say in German. And so it was very important to me with the first kind of that evolution of the show to place it in a venue that is close to home. I think the next years will see us going to more internationally compatible venues. Somebody comes in from the US, somebody comes in from Spain, somebody comes in from South America.
Asia.
They don't really know cities like Bochum, cities like Bottrop, cities like Recklinghausen. It doesn't.
Dortmund, whatever.
Even, they know Hamburg, Berlin, Munich, maybe Düsseldorf.
Berlin.
Ibiza, Paris, London. They will choose venues in the future.
Which then again is a new
challenge in itself.
Logistical challenge.
It's going to be a complete logistical nightmare, absolutely.
Exactly, because there's so many trucks went there. I mean, it's 100 tons of material that we build in there. I mean, this is beyond the cars, beyond the motorcycles, beyond the watches, beyond the collection, and everything we brought in. We brought in 8 trailers of material, 92 tons of material, and 465 lamps, 64 speakers, 118 square meters of LED wall, 45 tacticians, 196 pedestals, and 106 Elektrokettenzüge.
Electric motors.
And 700 running meters of truss.
Yeah, so it was a logistical challenge.
Plus the cars, plus the people, plus the drivers.
30 masterpieces that we built, especially for the show. I think we had 27 cars in the show, and then 3-4 more cars outside, plus the boats, etc., etc. So
the 2 boats,
it was massive. Yeah. We get a first look at the audience. There were 1,000 people from 40 countries, as I mentioned before. We had them seated in, I think, about 7 rows, 7, 8
6
rows,
or 7
rows on each side. And this year, one thing we learned from the last time was that we needed to have rows ascending, so people could see better. It's interesting to see the way the show starts, because last year we kicked it off with historical reference. This year, we try to identify things that we can repeat and build on in the future, and we're again kicking off the show with a historical reference, but this time with a new car.
With a completely new car, and I think we did a good job in bringing the bridge from the historical reference to a modern vehicle that we brought in that day.
Last time it was the 190e.
Yeah.
So the first car that was really significant in Brabus history. This year it was the Bodo Bushman edition. And again, you can clearly see the way the show is set up to be an emotional experience.
Yes.
It's quite dark when the show starts. You can, there's an intro, or coming in through. There's an intro. LED wall animations are going on. The curtain opens. You see the lights,
which tells the total story. Which tells
the story. So people, they see a collage of my father sitting in his office, different historical photographs. The wheel we see on the Bodo Bushman edition. First, it's a complete concept. It's the new SL. Why is the Bodo Bushman edition a title we chose for a Mercedes-Benz SL63 AMG with a specific spec? Because of course my dad was a huge fan of the SL. He always drove SLs all his life. They always had a very specific number plate, and they always had a very specific styling. We can see in the front, it's the title of the edition, Brabus 750 Bodo Bushman edition. And on the back, there is his old number plate. It was really interesting to sit in the audience, see the car drive by, and then look at the audience to determine, specifically at front row, because there was a lot of pros in the audience, and look at who really caught that detail and recognized the number plate.
Then this first car rolls out, and then there was this applause, and I noticed it right now. I get goosebumps right away, because I thought it was so respectful for the team to get that applause in that moment.
Okay, with the EQS, with the Brabus-sized version of the EQS 53 rolling in, how early did we start to plan the media setup, the lighting, the sound? How long did that take us?
We took about 6 months of planning the light situations for each car, because when setting up the media content, starting a little earlier than 6 months, we started developing the light setting together with the media setting. So we had to already think about the lighting situations. And I remember that we had some scenarios in there that we wanted to take in, but we took out at the end because they were only for a moment, or they would have been disturbing for another moment, or whatever.
But generally saying, I think we again, coming back to Signature 922.
Right.
And guys, you've heard me say this in countless videos. I think iteratively, and I have, I'm trying, what I tried to bring in the company also when I started as the CEO 5 years ago, is I said, guys, we have to, if we don't fail often enough, we're simply not doing enough. It doesn't mean brakes should fail, an engine should fail. There's things that shouldn't fail in a business where you build mechanical luxury products. But then we have to try things. And with Signature 922, we tried things, and we had such a long list of things that came out that we knew we wanted to change. One of them being that I said, I want to think more about how each car is presented, what the story is that we're telling with each car, what the surrounding, what the environment, what the atmosphere, what the feeling is that you get with this car. What's the message that we're trying to tell? Okay, here comes the Smart. Interesting car. I think a lot of people are still surprised when they see it.
Yeah.
It's of course the first car from the new era of Smart, with it now coming from China, being produced in a joint venture between Mercedes and Geely. It's the #1 Brabus. I think tremendous car, 4 seats, over 400 horsepower of power output. Really, really fast little car. And together with it, we also presented the Smart Brabus fashion collection.
That was specially designed for the show.
For the show, and that's accompanying, a few pieces out of that collection will accompany the launch of the car in several continents. Shown here for the first time. I think the combination of having the car and the models on stage, I liked it.
I liked it too. I liked the visual setting of it. It gave it an urban environment where the car is at home. It's a younger vehicle, I think. It's a younger car. It's a very fresh car, and that was really shown by the models, by the collection in combination with.
Let's actually talk about the ramp up of the show. Let's talk about the build up of the show, because you can see now the mood is again shifting downwards. We've got the 850, essentially the sportiest Maybach that we've ever designed, coming out to very calm music. So you had the historical reference in the beginning, then we had 2 electric cars, Brabus EQS 53 AMG, then the new Smart. Now we've got the Maybach, afterwards the turquoise blue Maybach with the highlight piece, the model coming out in an especially made dress in the same color as the car. And of course, a show like that it's got shifting tensions, it's got a shifting atmosphere over the course of almost 50 minutes, I think.
Yeah. 40, something like that, 45.
And but again, we thought a lot about, this looks fantastic, by the way. Again, we thought a lot about how we could.
Because we have,
Nice.
Beautiful. I mean, look at the lighting setting. It kind of develops over the show. Now there's new lights coming in, new scenarios.
So,
and talking about the ramp up, I think we had a longer discussion, and we had several discussions about it. If we can go up the whole time, like if we can keep the level up the whole time, but we decided on giving it ups and downs.
I can very clearly remember having a discussion with the art direction team,
Yeah.
the show that was directing the show, talking about the fact that I didn't want to go full out all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be an elegant experience. I didn't want it to be a rock concert. I wanted it, wanted every car to have its thematic bracket. I wanted every car to have its thematic bracket. I wanted our, teamwear and the teamwear collection and the new collection that we're coming out with at the end of 23 to have their own place.
Yeah.
In terms of fashion, and I wanted it to be a reduced, sophisticated experience and not just a metal concert.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that worked quite well. We had a longer discussion about the fact that we actually had to re-edit the show. 1.5. Yeah, let's actually pause the video. We had to re-edit the show about 2 days before.
Oh, it was a day before.
It was a day before. So what happened was we had it.
Shout out to Andreas and his
exactly.
team.
The content was already done, and as we talked about earlier, the content had been programmed and created. So visually created, and then it had been pre-programmed, and then a big server had been brought to the show. But when we went into the first rehearsals, we noticed that there was a misconception or a misunderstanding between the art direction team and myself. The way the show was set up was a constant beat. So what they had understood, and I had not noticed during our approval sessions before, we had not realized that we would not have a show that is executed on a persistent, continuous beat. That it would be what we came to call a hybrid show, where you interrupt the beat or you change the beat depending on the car, depending on the product, depending on the models that are walking or driving out. That's not very typical for a fashion show, because a fashion show...
That's what I wanted to say, because our reference was a fashion show.
And fashion show means, if you've done it a few times, it means constant, continuous beat for the models to walk the same way from start to finish. At least at least the speed of the music might change, but the speed should be the same. It means that the show is pre-programmed, and if you've ever been to fashion shows, they're pretty fast affairs. Yeah, they're pretty. There's a tact, and that beat is the heartbeat of the show. Now we wanted to do something different. We wanted to have pauses. We wanted to have ramp-ups. We wanted to have silence in different places.
And I think we wanted moments to enjoy the product more than we would have on a fashion show, where you just said that it just walks by you.
And we started, I think, with something around 33, 34 minutes.
Yeah, we were at 30 or something and ended up with 45, 48 or
50
something.
minutes, yes. Yeah. You're going to see fireworks and everything's ignited at the same time.
Exactly.
Everything goes up and you've got a very big bang for 5 minutes, and then in the end, as a spectator, you go, wow, that was nice, but why not stretch it out? Why is it over so soon?
And remember our discussion we had with the director who's coming out of the fashion business, and he said, hey guys, your show is already long, because it's like double the length of a fashion show.
And we said, why?
It's not long enough. Like we want to enjoy.
It's not even an hour long. We've got people flying in from all over the world, and it has to have, my target was actually 50 to 60 minutes of the show for the people to enjoy.
Which made some people faint on the night before.
Which made some people very nervous, but in the end, it turned out to be 48, 49 minutes. And so we got pretty close to that target. And I have no idea what we're going to do next year, because I think it's going to be a challenge. But anyway.
Well, I gave you a thought on that this week.
Yeah, Dennis, crazy ideas. Oh, here we go. I think one of my favorite moments in the show.
And I got to stop at that point. It is such a funny coincidence. And I don't know if you didn't remember that story or how it happened. We had the first meeting with the creative team, and we made a joke, because one of the guys came from Berlin, and we made a joke. You were in Berlin that weekend, and I made the joke. I said, if you guys have time, then you can design a dress on the weekend, because we didn't have any capacity to do something like this. So it was like a running joke. And I called the guy living in Berlin on Monday. I said, and did Konstantin show up? No, he didn't have time, blah, 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 blah. So this joke went on and went on and went on. And suddenly they called me and they said, like, we found someone He is a designer and he lives in London.
The dress, and that became kind of, became part of the team, and we ended up taking the idea a lot more serious.
Right.
To design a piece, a dress that would open up the stage for, I think, one of the most colorful cars.
The
one of the, what
turquoise
I
blue.
call Challenger designs. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
The turquoise blue Brabus masterpiece based on the Maybach.
And I remember when it got serious was the moment when I went to Sven and I said, I think we need leather now.
I think we need leather now.
I think
this is what happened. I think she looks fantastic walking out that way. And of course, she is introducing the car in a completely different way than we've ever done it before.
And it's the complete leather, it's the complete stitching of the car. And I mean, it's a pure, if you can say that like that, it was a pure material porn. Sitting
Absolutely.
in that room and showing the LED walls and everything. It was so close and so beautiful.
It's essentially three elements playing together. It's the model, it's the car, and of course it's what we can see on the LED walls. I don't know if we can see that again in a second.
Probably with the opener.
I mean, beautiful car. Monoblock M's, shadow chrome, black car, turquoise blue interior. And then here, that's when you can see it.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, the LED walls heavily focused on macro shots of the shell pattern, which has by now, Brabus shell pattern, which has by now become a signature interior pattern and is fast becoming our interior, something like our interior brand pattern. It's a pattern customers keep coming back to. It works for almost every single car, and it's clearly identifiable as a Brabus design.
And now we even have a shell pattern dress.
See,
yeah.
I'd like to. Do I get to see you wearing it in the future? Maybe?
Oh, I want to ask you.
If I lose a bet or something, if you lose a bet or something, I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. It's another video.
Well, anyway, I think the really beautiful.
You know who I could imagine?
Oh, Jan.
No, Nico. He would wear it.
Okay, quick shout out, Nico. What do I have to do to get you wearing the Maybach design piece? I would really like to know.
And maybe we can spoil it. You want to do a walk around at the Monaco
There's a few,
yacht show.
But then do we really want to do that, Tim? I don't know.
Well, we kind of.
Oh my God.
I think he doesn't have to wear the boots. I mean, he can wear sneakers.
Let's move on. I liked the fact, and applause again, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then again, the lights, the mood switches. That's what we were talking about. The mood switches completely for the 900 based on the GLS 63 that come out. Now
and I love the signature stripes on
the. It's red.
I love the signature stripes on the.
It's dark. It's red. It's red. The illumination's picking up on the theme of our Brabus signature stripes.
And it was quite challenging to get them straight.
Absolutely.
Remember when we were?
It took a day of work.
Yeah.
And with the spots highlighting the car in exactly the right way, that took a long time to get it right. Some highlights, some red highlights on the audience, as you can see. Absolutely beautiful car.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful part of the show, which is interesting because here you can see the LED screens don't display anything at all. So one of the, and again, I think it's one of the most interesting aspects of the show is that we decided not to go all out with all the media equipment inside. As you said, there's a lot of LED, hundreds of square meters of LED wall in the hall, in the building. And we tried to go very subtle. So exactly, so this can happen. The car moves out, it's just been a very dark environment, then you can go
and then it turns
then you can
up.
turn them on and go all white. But again, the animations, now for the classic cars coming in, they're not overwhelmingly complex.
No.
But they are simple. And sometimes, to be very honest, in this case, for such a show, less is more.
Yeah.
Less is definitely more. And as we're going to see, the cars are going to come in this case, 300 SL, followed by the Pagoda, followed by the W111, I believe. And then once all the cars are on stage, it's going. And he's getting a warm welcome by the audience here. And suddenly,
and we must say he got a warm welcome from us too in the rehearsals because his look was so cool.
Absolutely, looks spectacular with the glasses and the beanie on. Once the cars have driven in, the mood changes and it goes to something that was very important to me, which we can see on screen here. It switches to, you can't really see it 100% on camera right here, but it switched to a very colorful, very modern, artsy media setup. I see classic cars at dusty trade shows on displays that aren't really well thought out and where the average age of the audience is somewhere around 75. It doesn't do any justice
to those beauties.
It doesn't do any justice. It's not. It's horrendous because the cars themselves, especially, of course, we're looking at 3 6-star restored masterpieces. So 3 cars that underwent a 2 to 3 year process to put them in the condition, to restore them to the condition they're in now. It doesn't do the cars justice because you have those beautiful, sometimes multi-million-dollar cars, and they're sitting on dusty displays. You're walking around somewhat lifeless trade shows, and I don't think they need to really come alive. You need to see them driving. You need to experience them in a modern, in a timeless, in an elegant setup. So why not present cars? That was the initial thought. Why not present cars in a very modern, very colorful, and fun setup?
And that was the idea, that we bring them into a white room, which is a little bit like a gallery, handling it more like a piece of art than a vehicle, And then we brought them in, and then everything comes alive with the cars inside of the room and with the color on the screens and with the whole pop art scenario that we built there. And I think it gave them a stage that was really, really unique. And I don't know if the people have seen, but it is exactly the cars that were on stage that we used to create the pop art.
Overall, I wanted a modern setting. I wanted a timeless setting, a contemporary setting for the cars, and that's also why we chose the colors.
Yeah,
colorful, different cars. The red 111 with the beige interior, cream interior, the blue Pagoda, the white 300 SL. I think all contrasting very nicely and fitting to the screens.
Exactly. And that was the color scheme that they grabbed to realize the pop art on the screen. Plus that it was the right cars in the picture.
Let's actually talk about
and Sven, remember that Sven said you could do posters or you could do artwork out of it and just hang it on the wall. And I think the
design
same
was absolutely fantastic. And of course, oh, by the way, here's something again that's not noticeable immediately, but that we can see when we look at the displays. Not every single LED screen shows the same thing, but it's lots of different things that create one image together.
We'd like every individual piece because there was so much love and heart and everything put into it that we're very, very happy today to use it in the most efficient way.
By the way, we haven't really talked about the recording of the show. I love the
the video?
I love the way the show was recorded.
Yeah.
And again, by the way, you can see that by this point the audience is clearly liking what they see.
Oh, that's a good.
Okay, I have to pause it here because I have to pause it here before. It's again one of my favorite moments of the show coming up. It's one of those moments where we put a lot of energy into creating the animation. We put a lot of energy into it because the car wasn't ready 5 days prior to the show. No,
it was finished
very
off
close.
five days
close.
earlier or something. So we had no chance of making any materials with the car, but still want to show the car. So we re-rendered the car that you're going to see now.
But it's something that came out of, that started happening as a necessity. And in the end became one of the most beautiful moments of the show because we are essentially releasing the car through a 3D model coming down from the ceiling. Okay, there's something else I want to talk about. Let's do this now. Through the car coming down from the main LED screen, turning, essentially dropping to the floor, and the beat starting exactly on exactly the second when the car hits the floor. And then the real car rolls out, and it's
like a spaceship landing.
pretty much on point.
Yeah.
That was a moment that we trained for.
Trained for a lot with the driver.
And again, the material that we're using is branded screens. The main presentational element being the dropping 3D animation of the car. And also we have our first world premiere moment of the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've never shown a Range Rover. We've never shown a Brabus-sized version of a Range Rover. And I think this gives us it gives us another. Let me say this quickly, and I think there's another interesting thing we can talk about now, because the Range Rover, there's a moment of silence before that we cut out of the recording. There was a pause to kind of build up a bit of tension for about half a minute. Then the car drops, the beat starts, the Range Rover comes out. There is no commentary. There is no revving engine. There is no explanation. So if you were not aware of the fact that we have never done work on a Range Rover as the brand Brabus, you could have easily missed the world premiere.
Exactly.
That is the nature of the show.
And it's very self-confident.
It's very self-confident in a way, but it's also very reduced, and it leaves, it lets you have your own opinion.
Oh, that's a crawler coming in?
And I think that makes it intriguing. Now, let's talk about revving engines for a second. There were some people online that said, why didn't you have the engines revving? Why didn't you create more of a commotion, more of, why weren't the cars louder? And again, coming back to one of the discussions that we had a long time before the show and the concept of the show, we wanted to put on a fashion show for cars. We did not want to put on a car festival. We did not want to put on, a drag race.
Right.
We specifically did not want to have loud revving cars on a catwalk 1 meter away from our audience, because we don't believe that is the brand Brabus.
I also think it would have taken away a lot of the elegance factor that the show had. I mean, it now had an elegance factor which you could just look at. A strong moment. Really
We've
strong.
got this is the deep blue coming in right now.
And the whole room colored in
For
blue.
me, that was, again, content-wise. So, if talking about scenes, this was one of my absolute favorite moments. It's the first of two bundles that we've introduced. A car, deep blue, G900 deep blue, the watch, Panerai Submersible S, Brabus Blue Shadow Edition, and the boat.
And the second one that showed parts of the commercial that we brought out, and this was one of this year's launches.
It's so fascinating because we've been building up our own content production capacity. So 5, 6, 7 years ago, we decided, let's build our own production company.
Right.
By now, it's a team that is so developed that they can film highly sophisticated commercials. Actually, we're doing it one floor below where we're sitting right now. In that's where the team is, in the marketing office. And it's about 25, going to kind of building up to 30 professionals that do everything from filming commercials to Instagram reels to creating
social
posts
media
for a social platform, for social accounts, etc., etc. And now it was a long and painful road to get to that point. But now, 5, 6, 7 years into the process, we're able to create campaigns like the Deep Blue campaign, which, seeing them on the big screens really wowed me.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the audience seeing a functioning campaign, but I was also really sitting in the audience being really proud of our team.
And exactly. And bringing us back to 22, we always had the discussion of how we bring the boat subject. And with this content piece, we never had that discussion. It was like, you visually see the watch, you visually see the boat.
The boat. The problem is, of course, putting a boat on that runway.
Right.
We have a problem with dimensions. 37-foot boat, 12.5 meters long. Probably somewhat, you need 5, 6 meters of width to put that on the runway. That wouldn't have worked. And so we needed to integrate it into a different way, and we integrated it into the bundle of the G900, the Blue Shadow watch, and the Shadow 900.
And I thought the content was so good that you could, and the screens were good, and the definition of the artwork at the end of the day was so good that you had a moment sitting in there that you had the feeling of being on the boat for a short moment of time.
It was,
you know, it really brought you into
really
that
came to life on the bigger screens. Interesting. Again, we see the next car,
the strongest Brabus,
the 930, the strongest Brabus car ever. And let me quickly jump back here. Strongest Brabus car ever. And we don't use the LED screens. It's purely accompanied by light.
And the light show is totally inspired by the commercial, where we did about the same thing, just in another dimension here. And so you see how the teams are working cross-functional in using imagery that was developed for a commercial, bringing it into a show, which is very interesting. Yes. And I mean, I can ask you right now, I had the feeling that you had even a better perspective of the light show watching the video than you were inside of the room, because when we were doing the rehearsal, I sat in different areas and I always had a different perspective of the lighting situation.
Absolutely, yes.
And now watching the video, I have like the perfect view, because it's like a bird's eye.
It's interesting that you say that while we watch the model coming in for the second fashion part of the show, the collection that we're going to launch at the end of the year. Let's talk about the duality of the show. So, of course, it was a live event. As I said before, we had about 1,000 people coming in from 40 countries. So there was a lot of logistics around, you know, hotel rooms, picking VIPs up from the airport, driving them back and forth to the venue. But also, it was a show that was of course produced, and that's we're looking at the result right now. That was of course produced for watching it online.
Right.
And it was the first time, again, a feedback from 1.0, Signature 922. It was the first time we had a tech team, kind of an editing team outside in a Sprinter van, Ü-Wagen, as we would say in Germany, editing the show live, preparing it overnight, and then pushing it out, releasing it the next day at 12 o'clock at noon. Yeah. We've never done that before. And we're watching the exact result of that editing process.
You know that Torben and me did the first review in a pizza place at 4 o'clock in the morning?
I don't actually.
Yeah, we sat in a pizza place.
Nothing less of you.
Yeah, no, we sat at a pizza place at 4 o'clock in the morning.
And how much did you guys change?
Well, we didn't change much because we were having the first.
You were half asleep, yes.
No, we were having the first food of the night, and we just had minor changes. But that was good because we were like 4 hours later or something. We were at the place and then talked to the cutter and the post-production team and did the rest.
Because the last year, the problem was that we had the edited show so late.
6 weeks.
It felt like late. It felt really late. 6 weeks after the show. It's so the applause is distracting me right now, because honestly, the way I hear it here, I didn't really hear it when I sat in the audience. It was a different kind of experience.
Wait, would you describe it as that you were like in a tunnel, you would say? Like,
I mean, I was very, very focused. I was very, very focused on the sequence of the show. I was very focused on doing my job, even though I was sitting in the audience. I was very focused on being able to escalate when something went wrong, in terms of, you know, jumping behind the stage and helping out. But luckily, nothing happened. So.
Yeah.
And now, is it okay? We were talking about revving engines. This is the only time we did it,
and it was cool.
And you could hear the audience react to it when the bikes were still backstage, because they were, in fact, revving their engines. And we designed this to be somewhat of a wake-up call.
Right.
You know, at least that's during the rehearsals. We said,
and you see the pictures that you mentioned of the Jahrhunderthalle, the place we were in for the show.
So it was a bit of a wake-up call, and we wanted that segment, that track, to be different and wake people up. We're about 21 minutes into the show, and at that moment we wanted a bit of a different. Otherwise you keep seeing car after car. We wanted a bit of a different thing to go down,
and with a different music vibe and everything before.
And then of course one thing happened which I didn't know about.
You really didn't.
I knew that
really didn't. And I remember
knew that something was going to happen.
And it says right there, it says no signal. And remember when the first day we were there.
I came into the building and I looked at the screens and they said no signal. And I said, okay, this, today starts really well. Already something's going on.
Yeah, and I hope this doesn't happen during the show. And I looked at you and I said, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Of course, it was part of the prepared surprise.
Which you really didn't know. There are pictures where I hold your eyes and hold your ears.
Which I didn't know because Dennis made sure of it. And that surprise was Dr. Padma, one of the most well-known motorbike influencers, creators, coming in. And I think for the first time ever.
Look at you. You are surprised.
For the first time ever, lifting the helmet and showing his face.
And he was on Insta Live on his channel.
While being live
you can see it on the
Instagram. So that's a little bit of a nice surprise. He hands me the helmet. We quickly say hello, and I didn't know. I had no idea that was going to go down.
And my shout out goes out to Dr. Padma at that place. I met him for lunch in Cologne. We noticed that we both live in Cologne and everything, and we met for lunch. And I told him this idea. And he said, "You're a nice but crazy guy. I hope to see you again." And then I think 6 or 7 days before the show, he didn't even send it. Lynn sent me a screenshot of his account, revealing with a countdown. And I sent him a message immediately, and I said, "Now you're turning crazy. Now you're turning crazy."
You're crazy.
And he did the whole thing. So,
but now his face is out there.
His face is out there. He's producing content.
Still doing the same thing, but now he's interchangeably showing his face or wearing the helmet, depending on the situation.
And now he's part of the Brabus family,
which is super nice. So, Dr. Padma, absolutely big shout out to you. Thank you for being a part of Signature Night 23.
And that's the moments you meant, right? When it goes like
exactly.
Down like
so
that.
Listen, you see, we're 22 minutes into the show, and obviously something is coming up that is special. Again, completely different lighting setup.
It always looks like it's totally like someone is switching the lights out.
And it was a moment that was longer than you can see it on screen now. I think it was dark in the room for 30, 40 seconds. And suddenly one of the main highlights of Signature Night 23 comes out. And it's funny how the audience reacts because there isn't a sound.
Right.
And that told me, until the car is about, halfway through the audience, when we get the first reactions, but everybody's got their phones on. So this tells me nobody expected it. We worked super hard on not having the Rocket R leak, and it worked. And of course, I really pushed for us not having one car in the show, but having 2 different cars in the show.
And we gave the viewers of this video a chance to leak it already during watching the video on the next day at 12, because it was not released. I just saw it when it popped up, that we gave them the chance to already look at the commercial. That's an interesting discussion, by the way. So we were having a discussion internally, because you have to look, if you look at the show, we had, I think, 27 Brabus masterpieces in the show. And we had, what were the world premieres? We had Rocket R, we had the Range Rover
850 Maybach, we had the Range Rover, we had the
6x6,
6x6, we had the 4x4 square.
No, the 4x4 square was
Brabus masterpiece. That had been presented before. Yeah. So there were a lot of world premieres, and the problem was, just like a lot of other labels, we have one Instagram account, one official Instagram account, one official YouTube account, and there's only so much people can digest when you send them a press release.
Right.
And if we put too many press releases, if we release too many press releases, videos, pictures in any one given day, or any, in a short sequence, things get lost.
Or not get published.
Or
get lost or don't get published.
The frequency is too high. Still, we see an absolutely beautiful 4x4 square coming out. Yes, really nice car. Brabus 800.
Super black.
And 900. Yes. So we had a discussion whether to release a few of the cars before Signature Night to build anticipation for people to see it in reality, or option B, whether to keep it all secret and release them at signature night, even though that would mean that people would get a glimpse at the Rocket R, but it would only be released on our channels, on our social channels, a week after.
A week after. And that's when we decided to say, like, those guys of you out there that watch a full show, we want to give them, not an Easter egg, we want to give them something
kind of
special, an exclusive or whatever, and gave them the possibility to watch the Rocket R commercial before we really launched it. And that was the little surprise in this video we had right here.
So
the SL, we forgot the SL.
Exactly.
That was a premiere as well.
There was so many world premieres. And I had a very strong opinion during this discussion. I said, guys, I want Brabus Signature Night to be an event where you travel to internationally, that you look forward to, because you know that on this one night, there's a lot of fellow collectors. There's the whole management of Brabus. There's a lot of journalists. There's a scene of people, a club of people that is really interesting to you, that you want to meet, and you're going to see products that nobody has seen.
Yeah.
So as a collector, as a customer, you're seeing it the second the press sees it. You're seeing it before it's on the website. You're seeing it before it's on our Instagram, and that's a reason for you, even as a social creator, but also mainly as a dealer, as a customer, to come to Signature Night and have both a nice evening through the people that you meet and have a spectacular experience through the products that you see that nobody has seen.
You even walk away, and the only product we released that night officially was the 6x6. And all the other products, like you said, the SL, the Porsche, were not released when you left the building.
So we shifted the releases to after the show,
which was magical at the end of the day, because you could be there, you could take that impression for you. You could look at your phone, but no one else out there would have seen it except for having the leak of the show.
Now, just so we quickly talk about it, here's the green, the stealth green 4x4 Square coming in. A cool project, a car that we designed to look exactly like the boat that we released in January.
With the same interior
same
look.
Color code, same spec, same exterior color, same interior color, stealth green on the outside, sunrise
sunburst
on the inside.
Which again was the second bundle, because we talked about the deep blue bundle. So this was the second bundle we released. And again, I think with the content pieces we had on the walls, you had the imagination of the watch. You had a beautiful close up. You had a great opportunity to look at the boat.
Many of the people in the audience are professionals, professional buyers, customers, collectors, dealers, who are very clearly there to look at what does the new collection offer, what am I going to order. So there were many people who, after the show, they get up, they go to our head of sales, Niels, they go to their salesman, Martin, Dirk, all the guys were there, and they immediately place an order for 1 car, 2 cars, 5 cars. Because they are responsible for Brabus in a given market, they are responsible for representing our brand in a given city, or they are collectors that always want the newest products. Again, we're approaching the finale of the show, and it's again one of those decisions that we made to start the show, start the final track of the show with a very simple animation.
Yeah.
That offered something to the pros in the audience, because it very clearly shows wheels, 2 wheel, 1 wheel separating into 2 and separating into 4, separating into 6, all working independently. Yeah. And again, if you look at the axle construction of the old 6x6, it had a major difference to the new 6x6, in that the new 6x6 has 6 wheels working independently, or 3 axles working independently.
But it was no one speaking about it. It was just showing
So
it.
you could pick up on it.
You could pick up on it,
you
give an
saw it.
idea behind
By the
it.
way, something I think Jörn's favorite animation,
Yeah.
because he saw the animation
Yeah.
and immediately picked up on it. He sat next to me and said, ach, guck mal, man sieht die Einzelradaufhängung. You can show the independent suspension of all wheels. And again, just like in the Rocket R segment, we have two different cars. We've got the white car and we've got the super black car.
Which you could both test in Fuerteventura, right?
Yeah.
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 Your first driving
First time I
experience
drove
with the car?
6x6 was, I drove the prototype once before.
Yeah.
I wasn't with the team when they tested it on
like a racetrack,
one of the usual
yeah.
testing grounds. But then when we did the engineering test and the filming of the commercial in Fuerteventura, I drove it with Jörn. There's a video on that. Again, we're going to link it in the description. It's fun to see. And we're both really bad co-drivers, really, really bad passengers.
That's one of my favorite parts, I must say. Not because it's the finale or anything, but I think it was a full harmony of things. And it was then again a totally different environment that opened up.
Yeah, both 6x6s came out to totally different themes.
Yeah.
So one was, so both 6x6s came out to totally different themes. The white one was accompanied by a kind of a mountainish surroundings.
Like an adventure,
very
outdoor.
outdoorsy, very adventurous. Whereas the black car was clearly, look at the glass bonnet, really nice. Was clearly accompanied by a more urban, a darker black and red, kind of a more powerful setting, with abstract buildings in the background. Very high rises on screen, very, very.
Oh, there you can see it again. That looks so beautiful.
And matching, I think, beautifully the DNA of the car, or the spec of the car, in super black.
And then we celebrated it again. Huh? That was something where we said we don't want it to leave so fast. It would have
exactly because the cars came in and drove out so fast that during the reprogramming of the show that we mentioned before, we noticed that we wanted all the cars to go slower than the initial. I think they were initially planned to 4.5 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And we reduced them to reduced the speed of all cars to 3 kilometers an hour. And practiced it with the drivers.
Which was hard practice
we had to double or loop some of the segments in the show, and as you can see now, that segment of the show was looped.
But gave us a chance to present the product.
So first of all, it gives the cars more time on the runway,
right?
Because you want the people in the front and directly next to the entrance of the runway to see. You want them you want the people in the middle to see, and you want the people at the end to see. And it wouldn't have been fair to just have the car stop once, so most cars stop twice. And that worked out beautifully. Also behind, I was constantly thinking of what's going on backstage. Mm-hmm. Because if you mess up the positioning of such a car backstage, you're probably going to have to do some driving and turning and readjusting. And that takes time.
Exactly.
By doubling up some of the segments or making them a bit longer, we gave the team behind the stage. I really can't wait to see the documentary that's coming out about Signature Night. Because we had a camera at the entrance to the stage with the team that made the final adjustments. It gave them a bit of breathing room. Okay, here we go, finale of the show. That means the structure that we developed last year, we're picking it up again. Historical reference at the beginning, the singular tracks with cars driving down the runway, a finale at the end of the show that clearly signals to the audience the show is about to is approaching its end. And you can see that the audience is recognizing it, standing up, giving us a standing ovation, which was absolutely brilliant.
Which again gives you an opportunity to look at every single piece that came out.
Yes.
And I think that is a very, very special moment. And I must say, the atmosphere.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was really crazy.
I have to say, during that, when we got to that point, I was doing two things. I was watching when you would pick me up to go behind the stage for the final greeting of the audience, and I was completely relieved that we had gotten to that point in the show without anything going wrong.
I was relieved, but always thinking about that I still need to take 2 hours.
Absolutely fascinating setting.
But we were sitting in different areas of the show, and we all looked at each other during the show, and I think we all had very, very strong goosebumps there during the full show, especially in that moment. And the director of the show, I mean, he has a big reference and everything with fashion shows and big fashion brands and everything. He said he never ever in his whole career saw something this emotional at the end of a show. Like that people are really literally standing up, that they're celebrating the product, the show.
On the one hand, you engineer a show to be like this.
Yes.
But then the reaction, when you then get the reaction of the audience, it can't be artificial. Either people are, they pick up on the cues that you're trying to give them, they like the designs that you're presenting, or they don't.
Exactly.
It's a moment to celebrate the brand, yes, of course. I think what showed is that we really did our homework. Everything worked well together. The cars looked spectacular. The drivers had fun.
Yeah.
And so the venue was fantastic. Even some people were asking us before, what are you going to do this year? Is it going to be different from last year?
Right.
We tried to not tell them too much.
Right. We had a couple of people that told us, and we were in Ibiza at the Panorama Experience, and they sat with us on the table and they said, I don't know if you're going to top it. It was about the first moment.
Which is interesting. If you look at it now, it clearly 22 looks like the beta version.
Right.
And that had given us the confidence to go all out and invest millions into this show, to put it very bluntly. Both in terms of the budget for the show, but also the cars being built. It was a massive project. But I think it worked.
And it was a great piece of teamwork.
It was a great piece of teamwork, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you said we were very calm before the show.
Very calm.
And what did you say? You said well, either you're calm because you know you're going to do it, or you're calm because you don't know to stay.
You said either you're calm because you're very well prepared.
Yeah.
And there is nothing you can prepare, and you want the game, the show, whatever it is, to start. Or you are so unprepared that you don't even notice that you've completely messed it up.
Yeah.
So either you're completely oblivious to the fact that you haven't done your homework, or, which was true in this case, after the second general rehearsal, we had about 1 hour. There was 1 hour before the show where the venue was filling up. You could hear voices and people outside. I was inside, and I was begging for the show to start.
Right.
Because you want it to start. I was looking at everybody. Everybody was focused. Nobody was, you were greeting people. Nobody was greeting back anymore. Everybody was just, looking at their own timetables and had tunnel vision.
That was a really cool moment. We watched that on screen. Remember?
Yeah,
we watched it through the spider cam.
We were already behind the stage.
Yeah.
Because of course, we had 5 times or 6 times. I don't even know. 5-6 times the space of the show behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Logistics area, 3 floors of dressing rooms for everybody, offices, conference rooms, cleaners for the cars, the whole detailing team. Yeah.
How did that feel?
I was very, very happy that it had worked. And I think you can see that. I was very, very happy to come out there and greet the audience. Because in the end, and this is also why, as you're going to see, I wanted to get Jörn on stage as a symbol for the teamwork, and it was a
little surprise for him as well.
It was a little surprise. He didn't know. It was spontaneous, and
there, Nico.
And you can see that at first he's going to look surprised, and he didn't know. But for me, it was very, very important to highlight that it was a team effort.
Right.
because everybody did what they had to do. Everybody did what they had to do. I always say I work with the best team in the world, not because I have to say it, but because I very clearly I respect and I see the work that everybody's putting in. I respect that Brabus right now is a constellation of people that's really hard to imitate, because a few people have had their roles for such a long time. You know, Jörn's been with the company for 20 years. The list goes on and on and on. And there's so many people contributing to the show in completely different ways. Jörn was building the car. But we built the show to tell the story of the cars. You had to manage the guests, you had to manage the press. There's so many different work packages for such a show, and everybody worked together. And once again, a really cool team effort, and to make this thing a milestone for us. So,
yeah, and I must say, like, talking about the people that have been here for a long time, I felt, because I'm not here for such a long time, it feels like a longer time to me.
Yeah,
but we already had that discussion. Is it like a guest where you want him to go, or you're happy that he's there? But Stefan told me he's happy that I'm here, and he's it feels like I'm the right guest group. No, but the thing is, I think it was like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like melting together. Yeah. The old experience with the new experience, you know, and that was cool. You know, that was a cool moment for those other teams that were all over the place and that were taking care of so many things.
You can't forget that Signature Night is a new experience, also for Team Brabus. Not everybody's been a part of the conception of the show. Not everybody is planning the tracks. Not everybody's building the cars. There were so many people. The detailing team, different parts of Brabus engineering, the team filming the commercials. Right. So there's so many, and again, the list goes on. There's so many different aspects to this. I think we've been working on the show with well over 100 people.
Right.
What I'm realizing now is that the show had as much of an effect inside of the company as it had outside of the company.
Yeah.
With the general reception, I don't know, maybe it's another video where we can look at the reactions, saying nobody's ever done this. It's something completely new, and it was one of the coolest events that people have seen.
It was the emotional highlight of my career, because it felt completely different because it's part of a family business, and that makes it different. The next day we had the Creator Day. I think it started at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning.
After a very, very, very short night. In the case of our editing team, no night at all.
No night at all. And then I came in, and I used to play American football, and it was a little bit like you won the championship the night before. It was like everybody was high-fiving, everybody was like in a good mood and everything.
And everybody was like, completely tired.
And completely tired, but everybody was like high-fiving each other because it was such a great job from everybody. From the person that cleaned the area to you. I mean, to everybody.
I know I was complete. I got home. When did we get home? When did we leave, Cedric? I mean,
did you take Cedric home?
No, but I left. What? Like, but then we left like, I don't know.
4, 5, or 6 in the afternoon.
No, but after Signature Night.
In the morning.
After Signature Night, we left at probably 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
2, 3 o'clock. I was completely torn to shreds, and I couldn't focus anymore. And I clearly noticed that I had reached a certain limit. But the next day we had the Creator Day. It was fine. It was working. But then I needed a holiday after this. Anyway, this concludes our rather long discussion of Signature Night 23. I hope you guys have gotten a bit of background about how we planned and executed the show. Tell us your opinions. Leave a comment. Send us a DM on Instagram, and we will pick it up for the next Q&A, which we're going to do specifically about the show.
And let us know what was good, what was bad, what we could do better.
What would you like to see? What would you like to see next year? Also, an interesting question: what cars would you like to see next year? That's been the subject of a lot of speculation online. So put it on the comments, and we will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.